Sometimes I get really annoyed by the word healing because it implies that somehow we were broken in the past versus being present with what is and not having to constantly return to what was in order to be able to be okay with what is happening now. This going back and forth and from the past to the future in order to find resolve now, I think is quite redundant because a lot of us already know what happened. We've been through it over and over again, and this takes me to the point of being stuck in the narrative and then trying to heal yourself from resolving a narrative that was already written, and to rewrite it is only putting you kind of back into it or putting you into another narrative that then has to be, read through and rewritten, and it just gets really, really confusing versus going, hey, what tools am I missing now and what can I work on now in order to resolve all these things within me. That's why I always like to say that I work beyond the narrative, because I think once you've come to me, you've already been through your narrative a million times and you're still rather stuck in it. It's because I think the focus is in the wrong place. Instead, I prefer to build tools for the now. So a lot of what we put out is determined by if we believe in ourselves, if we trust ourselves, if we know how to listen to ourselves, if we are aware of what's happening within ourselves, if we're connected to our felt sense, if we're connected at all, right? It's to be able to stay embodied, first of all, because if you're not in your body, you can't access any of these things. And then to learn the language of the body, to learn the language of your senses and your emotional body, to learn how to regulate your emotions, but also understand their language and what they're speaking and what they need from you. And so this is what I focus on. Now, let me tell you a little story why I feel that working beyond the narrative is a lot more helpful than working with the narrative. See that guy? He loves me and I love him, but we've been having quite a challenge lately because every time I take him out, he screams and he cries and I think he's hurt and I freak out and all the anxiety comes up. I'm like, oh my God, is my baby okay? And then, he pulls me back home and he's perfectly fine. And then when my husband takes him out, there's all is good, He's rocking the streets. He's enjoying, here he comes. And then after, he puts me through it, he makes me feel super sad, like he hates me. Then he comes over to me and he just loves me and kisses me and reassures me. And it's been such a gaslighting game. My dog is gaslighting me. I've been emotionally destroyed over this. I'm like, I give this dog everything. I'm the one that takes him to the doctor. I'm the one that feeds him. I'm the one that makes sure that he's okay. I'm the one that holds him when he's sick. And he hates me. He doesn't like me as a mother. I'm a bad mother. And I just start going down this crazy creation of a narrative of why my chihuahua doesn't like me, to the point where it just makes no sense. But I start to believe it and my imagination runs wild when really could just be like, Gansha just doesn't want to go on a walk and he just wants to come home and chill. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's happening in that little chihuahua body, and I don't speak dog. But I can see how quickly I create a whole story around it. Not only does it have a hold on me, but it sucks me in and I get obsessed of trying to figure out how I can fix it or what I did wrong or, and it starts to affect my behavior. I see myself like tiptoeing around him or being scared that I'm going to hurt him, being scared to take him out on a walk, and then I don't want to go on the walks when I really enjoy my walks with him, or not wanting to hold him because I don't want him to be upset, or then I'm tiptoeing around the little chihuahua, which is insane. Instead of knowing that I'm a great mother, that I'm doing the best I can, that I love him so much and there's nothing to be afraid of, and it's okay, But we do this all the time in our lives. We get so wrapped into the creation of our story and then obsessed to be able to change it or fix it or to make it better or to fit in or whatever it is, that we really lose a sense of reality almost. And then because of course we're feeding these thoughts to ourselves, our bodies start to react and they're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? They become anxious, they become more fearful. And then we're stuck in that loop of like mind-body connection that is actually like fighting against each other. The body is confused, doesn't know what's going on, and the mind is just going, yo, be careful, they hate you, they don't like you, they do whatever it is. Feeding the story over and over again. Of course, yes, it will always loop back to whatever your childhood tendencies or habits were or trauma was, that you weren't good enough, that, you know, you were the bitchy one, or you were this one, or you were that one, or you're not worth it, whatever your story is. This is what happens to a lot of people. They really get stuck in the narrative and they can only focus on the narrative, but the narrative can't be fixed because the narrative would just keep recreating itself. And even if you can process the narrative and have a great understanding of it, eventually, without doing the rest of the work, you'll just fall into a new narrative, and that narrative will take you back to the original narrative of the childhood. So you're always kind of in the loop, or in and out of that loop, or roller coasting up and down. Whereas if instead I just come to the realization that I am here, that everything is okay, it's safe around me, and that Gancho is safe, everyone's safe, and I, self-reflect, is it something that I'm doing? Is it something that I could do better? And in this case, no. And then I come back to my body and I let my body know, like, we are good. This is not real. We are good. Firstly, I come back into my body, because if I'm out of my body, right, the anxiety and the panic and the fear usually takes you out of your body, then you can't regulate yourself. It's just like it's all outside of you. It's all external. So I come back in. I do that by using all my somatic techniques that you can find on any of my online classes, or if you come and do sessions with me privately. And then once I'm in my body, then I can begin to regulate. I can begin to recognize that I am here, and I can come into my senses, my felt sense. I can observe my emotional body without the narrative grabbing on or leading it or putting it on a leash and dragging me with it. And I can really start to observe what is real and what is not. The great thing about this is that you're not replacing one narrative with another. That's just gonna create a different story that you're gonna eventually loop and obsess into. You're actually emptying it out. So you're removing information and bringing in deep wisdom. And yes, it's hard to find your way back when you're lost, but though not impossible, but that's why this is a constant practice, to come back to the self. The world will pull you out, right? Instagram will pull you out. Social media will pull you out. All of these things, anytime that anything happens, it pulls you out externally. But then you always have to come back in. You have to check in with yourself. And by doing this, not only are you learning to continue to come back home, to the body, to the senses, to all the resources that you have here within this deep wisdom of this beautiful vessel that carries you and knows you because you've been with it forever, you're practicing that you can trust yourself, right? You're practicing of being aware when you are like just running loops in your mind. You're practicing of being able to engage back with reality instead of recreating a whole new narrative or, adding on to your fantasy. This is why I believe that healing is not in the narrative. It's okay to be able to process it, to understand it for yourself. But usually people just get stuck in that loop, It's like, oh, when this happened to me as a child, that's why I do this. Yes, we know that. We know that. You've been practicing that for 50 years, right? You know what your things are. This isn't new to you. The healing is not going to be in the narrative. The healing is beyond the narrative, because when you move beyond the narrative, you connect with yourself. And when you connect with yourself, you learn to trust yourself, you learn to believe in yourself, you learn what you like, you learn what you don't like, you learn where your boundaries are. And when you know who you are, without a shadow of doubt, you're like, okay, this is kind of where I stand because I know, because I've researched myself. Then you can actually output that, right? You can stand up for yourself when you need to in the external world. You can manifest what you believe from the internal to the external world. Your life is literally a reflection of what you believe is possible. And that comes from you. No one can teach you to believe in yourself. Even if you've had the greatest upbringing and your parents have said, you're wonderful, you're awesome, which I have, that deep belief will be tested every day. And it's that practice of coming back home and being present and doing the work and checking in and rooting down and reconnecting over and over and over again. So all my work really comes from the place of beyond the narrative. Because I really believe that the narrative, you know it well. Everyone knows it. Everyone can recite it up and down. It's not going to change anything. But when you really pull from outside of that is when you really start listening.